I'm Timmy.
I'm Justin.
And I would be Nathan.
And this is Three Old Tech Dudes.
Here we go again. Well, how the heck are you guys?
Doing all right. How are you? It's been cold out.
It has been cold out.
Been awful icy around
Cold
here.
and slippery.
Yeah, someone dumped that white stuff on the ground.
Ready for spring.
Tablecloth here.
So, what are these big chunks of tree in front of us here? Who brought those?
So, yeah, shocker.
That'd be Nathan then.
That would be me.
Well, tell us about this. What we got going on here?
So, these are project books / electronics books / little of everything books, but mostly these contain a lot of information that you can sort of Google this information, but we'll take one of the ECG books. Now, ECG is a parts company that's now NTE. They're not
electrocardiogram.
No.
Yeah, I've heard of NTE. So
ECG became NTE.
I see.
So these books, for example, show parts. And then they even show like test circuits to build stuff with. They're a little fragile. Just be careful. The only problem with these books is they literally do kind of come apart pretty easy.
Should I have a one of those book pillow thingy-mabobs?
You need white gloves. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, right. But basically,
They have that old book smell.
Yeah, not as good as some of mine. But so there are 3 of these books. There's volume 1, 2, and 3. He has 2. And at the time, these contained test information, schematic designs, and everything else for every part that ECG made. There was an electronic part. So these books contain a lot of knowledge that you really just sometimes can't find online.
It's basically like the white papers that you can get.
It's exactly what it is.
Right there in bound form right in front of you. It's nice.
You just got done saying how fragile they were, and then he's like...
Well, he had mentioned to me earlier that ECG books in particular, the binding was...
Those are fragile.
Okay, I see.
For some reason, those are fragile. This is a Motorola book. So this is a Motorola TTL book, which is transistor logic. That's like parts inside your computer, for example. And this is the same idea. Like, so we take let me get to a part here I can find. Yeah, find part. Come on. All right. So like the 54 or 74 LS107, which is a low power Schottky dual JK flip flop. So it's a lot of terms, I know, but the actual part, it gives you the pinout, it gives you the voltage, it tells you what the thing actually does. A lot of times they give you like test circuits, like here's what it looks like inside it electronically and stuff like that as you're going. So this is a book that tells you all about TTL chips. Now the question is, why would you want any of this, right?
That's what I was about to ask.
So if you're going to work on something that's older, I apologize, I have a cough drop in. If you're going to work on something that's older or not like just a generic thing you bought off like Amazon or whatever. So if you're trying to rebuild, let's say, a Commodore 64 or a TRS-80 or something to that effect, a lot of those parts and that part information is going to be found in these books.
So you're saying you can use them to restore old tech?
You absolutely can.
Which we're all about.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you can use them to build new projects.
Yeah.
So that brings on to this type stuff. So this is actually, I think this is still the current small antennas book. But this is a 49 battery powered 2 IC project book. So these are projects that you can build, and there's some really fun project in this. So there's
right.
A lot of these are ham radio based. Definitely, of course, the EWRL stuff is. This is another one. QRP Classics. That's the name of it. So the ARRL over the last however many decades has put out a huge amount of books. This is the QRP Classics book. So this tells you how to like literally build QRP test equipment. So like here is that's cool, SSB CW transceiver
for 20 meters. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
The schematic and I'm sure other instructions right there.
oh yeah, and complete how-tos. And what this is this originally was like in I think in QST, which is the amateur radio magazine, and then like here is just a like compilation of all of that.
There you go.
So if you're wanting to have some fun building some projects, you know, this kind of stuff, here's actually one called the Weekend Projects, but it's also by ARRL. So they actually produce a lot of this kind of stuff. This is what that one looks like. And that's a fun thing to do. And then in front of Justin there is a big stack of books. Those are the amateur radio handbooks, also put out by the ARRL.
At least they're small and light.
Jeez.
Yeah, I've got a couple.
Little light reading here
You got,
from 1993.
yeah, they have many decades of these.
Yeah, I have a lot of these.
No.
So
And hardcover even.
that's a hardcover. Yeah.
Nice.
So these also contain a lot of very useful information. And if you're trying to learn electronics,
Here's the 87 one.
yeah, these actually have
Very fun.
a lot of how to do and how to learn electronics in it, which
They're
is
really cool books.
if you're trying to understand it, that's a kind of useful thing. And underneath that one book, grab the green cover book that's not in good
Sure.
shape. Which
Do that.
so
High mileage.
this is from my youth.
Boy, is it ever.
It is definitely from. I bought this thing when I was a kid, and yeah, I'm kind of. We'll call this a little foxing,
See,
which I think actually the proper term is I dropped acid on it and not like, you know, like burn acid. And it,
I figured maybe writing love notes out of the paper.
no, I spilled some chemicals on it and it ate through the paper.
Goodness.
So I kind of cleaned it anyway. But this thing, this
Showing
thing
you for
gives
trying to build
this.
death lasers.
Well, I would, yeah.
I
Here's
kid.
some of the importance.
Well, true, but so like here's how basic circuits work. So, you know, you've got series,
neat.
parallel. Here's the different waveforms. Here's how gauge works to like feet per ohms.
You should hold that up to the camera and show them how it's made out to look like a handwritten notebook. That's kind
Hey,
of
really,
neat, so.
if you can see this,
Yeah, I think they can, yeah.
we'll take. Where's you got your camera? Take a
Oh,
picture
I
of it.
suppose.
How old were you when you acquired this?
If I guess, I'd say 11 or 12.
I was not reading stuff like this when I was 11 or 12.
I would have if I could get my hands on it, I think. I don't know that I knew what to look for.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have.
Well, Radio Shack was handy.
Yeah.
I
But
watched
this-
Star Trek when I was a kid.
I
That's
did
all I
too.
got.
But
Yeah, that's a cool book.
I did that too. But this book goes, and then further back, it starts getting into like actual circuits. So it tells you how a transistor works. Because like Tim and I, prior to this, we're talking about how an actual transistor works. So here's how semiconductors actually work and parts like that. So this is the light emitting diodes, and it shows you how kind of what happens. It's actually a really well done book explaining a lot of this stuff in really nice, just simple terms. Poor guy's on fire. But here's a diode.
Right.
So it explains what that does. Here's, you know, different parts and this kind of stuff. And it shows you really some good ways on how things function. Like I said, this was one of the first books I had. And there's, you know, there's your breadboard pieces and wire wrap if you ever did any of that. But you get further back in here and then it's got actual little projects. So, you know, it's got projects that you can actually do. So this, if you go back on RadioShackCatalogs.com and go back to, what did I say, 83, about 1983, you'll see this book actually listed. And yeah, this was mine from when I was a kid. So I'm surprised it survived it all, but it did. So, hey, you know. But this kind of book, and this kind of book, and these, and all this kind of stuff, and these manuals, and you know, this is an old copy of Radio Electronics. This is actually my copy from when, because like it actually has my name, N.T. Lowry, which it's Nathan, but that's where I lived when I was growing up. So these things actually have the same kind of stuff in them. There's like, here's schematics for bits and pieces if you want to build something, and all of these books. And we'll go to like these, for example. Here are cross-reference books. So cross-reference books take So an MA215 is the same thing as an SK3178 or 30178. This book, if you're trying to find something that's an old part, and sometimes you just, you'll Google the parts and you don't get information.
Right.
They may show up in these books, though.
Right.
It's
So
very
that the
possible.
advantage of
Be able to substitute.
So you know that, okay, this part is actually this part.
right.
Let me look that part up, and there it is. So I've got an old RCA SK book. Well, actually, I have more than this. Here's Radio Shack's version of the same exact thing, but it's the same. So it's the exact same layout. For some reason, I have that in there.
You're probably bookmarking that for some reason.
Probably. I don't know why I put the 240 tone squelch board, but that's fine. Whatever. But it's the same exact thing. So a C4790R is the same thing as a 276-2030 from Radio Shack. And if you look up in the front, it's got actual schematics on how this. So does that look familiar? Same idea. There's several of these books where it gives you parts, and here's like test circuits and everything else. Yeah. Same thing.
I was looking here. There's a website called worldradiohistory.com that is going out of its way to archive magazines such as Radio Electronics. And I was looking to see, I believe I have found that.
Oh, wow.
Let's make sure it's the same covers.
So this one is a June 85
Okay.
and a
It's
January.
downloading a whole giant PDF. It's trying here. Yeah, it's the same one. It's the same title.
Yeah, this is January 86.
All right, this is January 88 I pulled up. So you can actually find an archive of those magazines online.
Yeah.
However, having the paper in your hand is very nice. So
Well, and you also have to remember, like these actually went to me. Like my name is on these, which for me is just a neat thing.
Yeah,
I
that's
actually
cool.
didn't kill these. Yeah, because this is lucky to survive. The fun thing is, so Radio Shack later on kept that book out for a long time. This green one here, and then they started releasing these mini books.
no.
Here, which are they call them engineers mini notebooks. And this one's on basic semiconductors, op amps and ICs, communication projects, digital logic, optoelectronics. I have them all, so I probably got a couple more. But this is it's the same way that this is written.
Yep.
So it looks all handwritten inside it. Same idea.
Oh, that's interesting.
So, and it gives you little projects like that. Same idea, same way to do it. So, if you're looking for something, that's an interest that you may want to, I'd like to learn electronics and just play around with some of this stuff. Books like this are easy enough to come by. You can go to a Hamfest and find them. You can go on eBay and find them.
$1.49 at the Radio Shack.
Yep, that's back a few years ago.
What about old textbooks?
And that's my textbook from the vocational school.
Yes.
Wow.
So, and
Complete with a property stamp.
Yes.
well, they gave them away to us.
So yeah, eventually they retire them.
Yes.
That's a retirement.
Apparently they retired them right there because he's the last guy signed in, 88, 89.
Oh, wow.
That's fun.
But, so here's the thing. Much like, I'm going to actually steal Derek's thing for this because actually I think he's right because he's talking about old cars, talking about vice grip garage. So he talks about like old cars, get up off your couch and go actually, wrench on these old cars, for example.
Yeah.
And for my take on that is, get up off the couch, go find some of these books if you don't know how to do some of this, or just even if you do and you just want to get back into it a little bit. And start actually doing this stuff, build some of this stuff.
That's a good point because I am really interested in electronics. Of course, each of the three of us all have varied interests. That's kind of what makes the channel interesting, I think.
Yeah.
Or insane.
Or insane. It depends on the week.
For the hour.
But there's a lot of things I don't know. I've learned a lot. I've learned almost everything I know from the internet and old books. Like we've done some antique radio repairs. You're going to see another one here in a couple of weeks, maybe 2 or 3 weeks out. And, I've learned all that from reading what others have done and in books and in some cases talking to Nathan. So, you'll see a lot of that on here, and it's something I want to learn, but you got to get out and go do it. You can't.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people just go, I don't understand computers. I don't understand how to use a computer. You can hear that a lot. I'm like, well, have you tried to? I understand it can be hard, and if you get frustrated, try again. So,
and that's just it.
I've burnt some stuff up here and there with the electronics. None on the channel yet, but it'll happen. Just wait.
So, the reality is, if you start messing around with this stuff, you're going to make an oopsie.
Oh, yes.
And you're going to set a component, not necessarily on fire, but you're going to let the magic smoke out.
One of the first radios I ever tried to fix, it was the third one I ever tried to fix, and I was not successful. It was a Zenith tabletop radio I had bought that it was at a flea market. Of course, you get the usual old boy. It's like, oh, it plays. I took it home, and it had an actual sealed back, which is kind of usual. Had no tubes in it. Not one tube was in this radio. Everything else was there.
Yeah.
The clock even works on it. And I got that all put together, and it was clear that it had been repaired or modified by a shop or something years ago. Yeah. So I was trying to put capacitors together, and I didn't understand the formulas for wiring capacitors, either series versus parallel, and I did them in series thinking it would multiply the capacitance, and instead I blew out 3 or 4 resistors in a spectacular smoke show. However, the radio did work for about 3 minutes, that frustrated me enough. I didn't touch old radios for years until we started working on the channel here.
Yeah, and here's the thing: it's like working on a car and then accidentally breaking something, right? Okay, yeah, you're if you've never done it, you're gonna mess something up.
Yeah.
Of course, on a car, you got to worry about it falling on you.
Sure.
But in electronics, just take some basic safety precautions. And honestly, in a lot of these books, like this book, for example, it talks about safety pretty right up front. Basically,
so you don't get your zap on.
Well, and it talks about, of course, it teaches you a lot of the basic stuff in here too, to where in a good theory, but
just poke around in there until something sparks.
Yeah, but they'll talk about, like some basic safety and things like wearing safety goggles and stuff like this, especially if you're going to, do things like solder. This goes into like Leyden jar. I mean, it's just amazing.
It's like grounding straps, isn't it? Has either of you ever wore grounding straps?
Just a couple times.
Yeah.
I quit doing it pretty quickly. Yeah, that was big in IT training and still probably is. You should wear a grounding strap.
Anytime you touch anything.
I remember doing that in college, and I do know of a case where static electricity did kill a desktop in one of my jobs years ago.
Oh yeah.
But we figured out pretty quick.
Just touch the case.
That's what you need to do is ground yourself to the thing, and not the USB port, which is what happened to this thing. It blew the whole board out. But,
bummer.
Touch the screen. Now it doesn't screen anymore. So beyond basic safety, just get out there, get a book, whether it be something like this or any one of these, or you order something from the ARRL, or you go on Amazon, find something there, or RadioShack.com. I think they have some books now back. And
what was this archive that you found?
WorldRadioHistory.com.
Okay.
And they have a spectacular thing of magazines. They do have some books, but they have a lot of oddball stuff. It's really somebody's got a big project going on, because I believe they have every single issue of this magazine on there. So,
and I have several.
I found one of them Nathan has here actually. So
very cool. So get out there, find a project, find something you want to build, and build it. You can order all parts. Can be ordered off eBay, off Amazon, whatever. It's easy enough to get parts. There's still radio electronics, companies around selling parts and stuff like that, like in Bloomington and Stance for radio.
Absolutely.
And I don't know where else, but
DigiKey, Mauser, the online ones, you pay a little shipping, but their prices aren't terrible. So.
Yeah, and just get out there and do it. So
absolutely. Well, that's a cool thing, and definitely don't ignore the old books when you see them at a Hamfest or at a flea market or the used bookstore. They show up all over the place. So
and a lot of stuff.
It's good stuff. Well, you think it's time for seeing what's making noise in the comments, huh? You guys think it's time for that?
I thought I heard something clamoring around.
For that, yeah. Hey, it's time for Echoes from the Asylum, that part of Three Old Tech Dudes where we hear from you, the YouTube, and now Rumble viewer. You can find us on Rumble. We'll talk more about that at the end of the episode. I bet Justin didn't even know. Yeah, he did. All right.
I read our chat.
Good. So I'll grab one comment here, and this is actually on a video that, and this hardly ever happens, released today at the moment this was filming. That would be the Hallicrafters S40A shortwave receiver. It's already got a comment. It's great. So,
Commented.
Alex Kinch, Kinch. And
Hey, Alex.
I should give some background because I don't believe the other two tech dudes have seen the main segment of this. This radio was wired wrong. Somebody had rewired where the power switch was. They had put it on a noise limiter toggle, which threw me for a while. And they had disconnected that line and for some reason wired that in and who knows what. However, it functions as it is. So there's other wires hanging loose too. But Alex writes, it's always nice when solutions are as easy as that when fixing stuff. Basically opening the chassis and going, oh, that's the power switch now. Click. Oh, it works. So, that's true. It is very simple. So.
Yeah, sometimes things get modified and you're like, oh, they've just done this. Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, that's true, Alex. That radio is going to need a recapping. I'm not sure. We have so many projects that we need to get to. I'm not sure the ones that will get done right. That was more of a revival. Does it work? Oh, it works pretty well. And we tuned around the dial for a while. So
yeah,
see what all we can find. And every band worked on it. So we heard shortwave and broadcast and ham. So all kinds of stuff on that old thing. So
Very cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Dude, welcome to the Waves.
That's right. It's time for Welcome to the Waves, that part of each Three Old Tech Dudes episode where we welcome a new amateur radio operator to the fine hobby of ham radio. This week we welcome Eric Bodeker, KC1QMA, to the hobby of ham radio. Eric is from Brownsville, Vermont, and we hope, Eric, that you enjoy the hobby. Well, you can find us on social media at Facebook. Just search for Three Old Tech Dudes. And on Twitter, same. And now on Rumble, we're going to start putting our new videos over there. We started with that with the Hallicrafters video. And every Wednesday over there, we're going to release an episode from our rather extensive now back catalog of episodes. So you get an oldie but a goodie, depending on opinion, every Wednesday. So that's just another spot where we thought we might put videos and try to gain some more revenue. We are monetized now on YouTube. We're not making a lot, but we're looking forward to the day because we'd love to get a studio eventually that is set up permanently. We float amongst several locations for our shoots. We haven't been at this one for a while, but we are. So today.
Last time was my basement.
Yeah, the last several actually. So last 3 or 4 rounds.
That's
anyway.
actually... Yeah. That's not where we started. We started at the church.
Your church.
We actually started in your basement at the workbench the first 2 rounds, and then we went to the church for a little bit.
No, we went to the church first because that's where our first intro was shot.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yes.
I forget that one because it was what we would do today is probably 3 or 4 videos.
Yeah.
The first long video was.
Oh, yeah.
Because we looked at all kinds of different things. So.
We had fun, though. I mean, it was,
we must have. We're still doing it almost 3 years in. So
we get tired of each other.
Right. Well, hey, thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you next week, if not before. Until next time, I'm Timmy.
I'm Justin.
I'm Nathan.
And this is Three Old Tech Dudes.
See ya.
Bye. Thanks for hanging out with us here on Three Old Tech Dudes. Please subscribe to us here on YouTube for more tech old and new, tinkering at the workbench, repairs, ham radio, electronics, computers, and more. Please like this video and share 3OTD with your friends to help us grow the channel. We tweet at 3 Old Tech Dudes 1 on Twitter, and you can keep up with us on Facebook. Just search for 3OTD and look for our logo. Thanks so much for watching.